You have this desire in your heart. You want financial freedom because you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Or maybe you decide you want to start building wealth for your children and their children to enjoy. Or you want to build a successful business. But then you wonder if it's right to want these things. Is it really okay with God to desire this? Well, here's the good news. The fact that you even stop to ask that question, is this okay with God, reveals something really important about your heart posture. It means you truly don't want to displease God. And that's what we call the fear of God. And it's the healthiest posture you can have in life because Proverbs says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, it's the start to making good, wise choices in life that bring honor and glory to God. But let me show you what Jesus says about wealth because it's probably not what you might think. God is not anti-money. He's anti-idolatry. 1 Timothy 6:10 is often quoted to support the idea that we should not desire wealth in this world. But if you look at it closely, you're going to notice the issue is not wealth. Let's read it. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. If you look at that verse, you'll notice it doesn't say that money is the root of all kinds of evil. That's how most people would present it. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is what leads us astray. When we want something more than God, then that thing becomes God. That's what an idol is. And that's what God condemns. He condemns idolatry in all forms. You don't have to read the Bible very long before you encounter a character who was materially rich. People like Abraham, Job, David, Lydia, Joseph of Arimathea. These are just a few examples. There's so many more. Possessing wealth is okay as long as you possess something else with it. Faithfulness. The desire for financial health, provision, building something, even wealth itself, is not inherently sinful insofar as we remain faithful to God above all else. This means that the desire for wealth is subject to our desire to be faithful to God. And that's the correct order. But this is what happens when we don't keep the desire in check. Money begins to steer our choices and decisions in life. It takes the seat of master, and all of our decisions start to run through money and what money wants us to do, what money says to do for us to acquire it. When we look at the teaching of Jesus, we find that the amount of money was never the core issue. This is often how people quantify if someone is in sin or not regarding wealth. They look at the amount and then make a judgment call on their heart condition. If they have too much money, according to their standard, this person is in sin. But Jesus did not measure by the amount of money. He measured by the person's ability to remain obedient and faithful to Him. That's what Jesus quantified, faithfulness. Watch this, Luke 16:10. One who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. Here is a red flag statement I hear from people way too often. When I make more money, then I'll start to tithe to the church. When I have more money, then I'll start to be more generous. This is conditional faithfulness, and Jesus calls it out. If you can't be faithful with the little that you have in your hands right now, then Jesus says you will not be faithful if you have more than that in your hands. Plain and simple. Jesus never promises that we will have much in this life. In the sense, He never promises that you're going to be rich or wealthy. But He does promise that if we are rich or wealthy, that we will not be faithful with it if we're not faithful with what we have right now. He guarantees He won't be able to trust you with more if He can't trust you with what you have in your hands right now. Unfaithfulness with little guarantees unfaithfulness with much. It doesn't scale into faithfulness over time. It scales into bigger unfaithfulness over time. I don't believe in trying to get God to make us wealthy. In fact, it makes me cringe when I hear preachers telling people how to get rich and how to get God to release millions to them, like some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. But I can't help but notice this. If God is looking for faithfulness above all else, then that tells me if there really was any way that we could increase the likelihood that God would bless us financially, which I'm not claiming, but I'm just saying hypothetically, if there was a way, then faithfulness would be it. Be faithful with what you have in your hand right now. Stop waiting to be generous. Stop waiting to bless others. Stop waiting to tithe to your local church. Stop waiting to be faithful to God. Get rid of this whole contingency plan. If this happens, then I'll be obedient. If you're listening to this and you realize you've maybe made an idol out of money and you want to know, what can I do to tear that idol down in my life? I've got great news for you. God designed a way to do it already. It's called tithing. Tithing is the biblical practice of giving 10% of all of your increase to God's kingdom through your local church. How exactly does this handle the love of money? Because it starves the idol of control. Generosity is the antidote to the love of money. Giving money away is what disempowers the idol that clamors for more and more money. The way that you break it is by doing the opposite of what it wants you to do. The idol says get more, but God says give more. And if you're someone who would say, in all honesty, that you don't struggle with the love of money, you still need a tithe as well. Because it not only deals with idolatry, it not only tears it down, but when we practice it, it also protects us from idolatry. So first it'll tear it down, but then it will protect you from rebuilding that idol in your life. It's hard to make an idol out of money when you're freely sacrificing a portion of it to God each week. Now let me name something. I'm a pastor, and I'm telling you that you need to tithe. I get it. Maybe I just made you feel the same way I said those people made me feel when they talk about how to get rich quick with God. Here's the difference. I'm not asking you to give to me. Please notice, I'm saying that you should tithe to your local church, meaning wherever you call church home. So this is what I want you to do right now. I want you to start tithing. And don't wait. Do it this week. Do it now. In fact, open up your church's website and give online right now. Set up recurring giving if you're able to, and start starving that idol of power. If you can't start with 10%, start with 5% and work your way up to 10% over the next few months. But don't let anything get in the way of you beginning to be generous and starving that idol. Don't let it live one more minute. We have to start being faithful and obedient with the little bit that's in our hands right now, no matter how little that is. That's the only thing that is in our control, and it's the only thing that truly matters to Jesus. The desire is not the danger. It's the worship of it that is. You're allowed to want financial health. God isn't threatened by that ambition. He just wants to be Lord over it. The fear of the Lord brought you to this video. Now let the wisdom of the Lord take you forward. Hey, if this reframed how you think about money and faith, please share this video with someone who's wrestling with the same question. And also, before you leave, don't forget to subscribe. I go deeper into these kinds of things every single week. Plus, here's the next video I recommend that you watch.